Alright, so we're going to talk workout splits. A lot of people have asked me, what's the best split? Is it push-pull legs? Is it upper lower? Well, to answer that question, I need to tell you a story about how I got my lifetime PR 315 incline press. Now, I am a terrible presser. I'm a small person. I have narrow clavicles. I'm of East African descent. I'm made to be an endurance athlete, a distance runner, a triathlete, something like that. But because I dug deep in the archives and researched what some of the old-timey lifters did, a lot of that information was of great value to me. Specifically this gentleman here. Now, this is Mr. Pat Casey. He's a legend in strength sports. He was the first guy to bench over 600 raw. He's the first 2,000 pound total, the first 800 pound squat. His big claim to fame was benching over 600 in 1967. I've heard tales that it was 615. I've heard it was 622. I've heard it was 617. It was over 600 in 1967, which is absurd. Now, the elephant in the room obviously is genetics, right? I mean, the guy was 217 at 17 years old and benching over double body weight, 420, right? But the reason why Pat Casey is significant to this discussion is he would do some kind of crazy training things that totally vibe with me. Like, there's apocryphal tales of him at 300 pounds body weight strapping a 250 pound dumbbell to his waist and doing 200 reps with that. Now, it wasn't all at one go. What he did was he started with sets of 5 and then 4s and then triples, then doubles and then singles, but he kept doing that for 7 hours until he hit muscular failure. He basically just kept training until he couldn't, right? This was before the era of internet where we have people telling us like, oh, you can only train so much and diminishing returns and yada yada yada, right? There was no evidence because they were discovering the evidence at that time. That leads into today's topic of discussion, the training splits, and kind of his approach to determining what his was. Instead of a push-pull legs, upper lower, anterior, posterior, something that would make some sort of logical sense, he did the only other thing that makes logical sense, which is he formulated a workout with a specific training objective. So he trained with intent, folks. And say he was pressing, right? Say he was doing that insane like 7-hour tricep workout. He would then take note of how long it took him until he didn't feel sore. Let's say it was like 5 days. Then, and I say that because he's on record for saying that particular workout took him 2 weeks to recover. So then after soreness, he would take note of how long it took him till he felt like he was strong enough to train again that particular body part in that manner. Then that became, okay, so now if I want to train my pressing, I'm going to do it like this. And then he would formulate another workout that he thought would be successful for his goals, which were a 600 pound bench and a 2,000 pound total. And then he would take stock of how long it took him to not feel sore, not feel tired, return to fitness with that workout as well. And what he developed over time was a bunch of different workouts with different training intents that had different recovery periods, and then that in aggregate formed his program, as opposed to following an arbitrary training split of, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday I do this, or like Tuesday, Thursday I do this, or, you know, upper, lower, anterior, posterior, push-pull legs, etc. So I wanted to make this video for people that love training but aren't necessarily so wrapped around the axle of having to adhere to a specific training protocol. What Mr. Casey did with his intuitive approach, termed body part mapping, is he took into account his individual nuance, specifically the recovery times it took from session to session if he maxed out the intensity and volume, so that he could get an objective standard of, okay, my specific body can handle this much pressing, this much squatting, this much whatever. And so for me, I need to structure my training moving forward if I want to continue to improve in this manner. This is an example of being a thinking athlete, folks. You can't, in one hand, want to have exceptional results, and in the other hand, expect to get them from a cookie-cutter, copy-paste program that you just get after a 5-minute Google search online. When you are trying to metaphorically tighten your shot group and, put rounds on a dime at 25 meters, the copy-paste approach of just doing a 5-minute Google search of your favorite bodybuilder or fitness celebrity and doing their routine is not going to work for you. You need to understand the principle behind why they're doing what they're doing and then apply it to yourself, filtered through your own individual nuance. So if your bro splits are working for you, I'm not saying throw them away. What matters always is what actually works in the real world. But hopefully this video gave you something else to consider when planning out your programming. Thanks for watching.